Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Are you stressed right before you go on vacation? I can ask Rich this. And it would be understandable. There's a lot to get done before you leave your home, your work, and all your responsibilities. I just went to Montana 2 weeks ago, and leading up to it, I had to make sure I had all my ducks in a row before I left. And I find having a checklist helps me prioritize my time and making sure that I get ready before I go on vacation. And yes, I'm one of those weird people who starts off my checklist with make a list. And then I can check that box and I already feel accomplished. Well, creating a list is important. The timing and how you get things done is vital. One of the first things I had to do for this trip was book my flight to Montana. I actually went with a group of about 12 people, most from California, who went from Washington. Most everyone left out of the Bay Area and flew to Seattle, and Seattle on to Missoula. Monterey actually has a direct flight to Seattle, and I really wanted to try this flight out, but unfortunately the flight arrives in Seattle after the flight leaves for Missoula. So I ended up having to take a different flight. My flight was Monterey to Denver, Denver to Missoula. And while this was pretty good, not bad actually, the timing of it wasn't ideal. This flight left Monterey at 5 a.m. Oh dear. Which means I had to be up at, or not even be up, I had to be at the airport at 4 a.m. And I am not a morning person. So this was pretty brutal. That morning, I actually woke up at 1:30. I was too nervous to go back to sleep, afraid I would oversleep and miss my flight. So needless to say, I was a bit of a zombie that evening. But luckily, there were 3 more evenings where I was not the first person to go to bed. So after, or actually even concurrently when you're booking flights, you also should be looking at hotel rooms or vacation rentals. For me, we actually were able to stay at a friend's ranch. So thankfully that was something I didn't have to worry about, and I was able to check that one off my list. The next big thing was booking the pet sitter. And for those of us who have fur babies, this is a pretty big deal and an important step. I always feel so much better when I know my kitty is being watched by her favorite pet sitter, Tara. And if for some reason Tara is not available, it's a high priority to find an alternative. So flights, lodging, pet sitting, all this should be done well in advance, should be at least. But there are essential things that need to get done, usually about a week prior or even a few days prior to going on vacation. I started about a week prior checking the weather at the destination so I know what to pack. This actually ended up being kind of difficult for this trip. We had planned to float down the Bitterroot River, and it started off at the beginning of the week showing high 80s, sunny, and then the day before I left, it was down in the 60s and chance of rain. And I was carrying on, so I couldn't have multiple outfits. So I like to do all my laundry, get everything clean so I can pick from everything. And I usually pack the day before I leave. So that means I'm doing laundry several evenings beforehand to get ready. I was able to actually pack warm enough clothes for the float down the river, and I managed to mostly bring appropriate clothes. But we ended up doing lunch at a golf resort, and it was pretty chilly that day, and I had open-toed shoes. And I really wish I brought closed-toed shoes or some kind of booties. That was my only one regret in packing. And because I was carrying on, I had to fit all my toiletries in the little bag that TSA will accept. And I usually also try to do this several days prior, make sure I have everything in those little 3-ounce containers. And if I don't, or if I need more, I have enough time to run to the beauty store and get more. So one of the most important things on my checklist is to make sure that you have medications with you. You can't leave home without those. And recently I started taking a medication that actually requires refrigeration. And unfortunately, that was due to be delivered at my house the day before I left. But it requires signature, and we were at work. So after work, I was rushing to the FedEx store to make sure I could get it before it closed. And I really wish that was probably the only thing that I didn't do very well time-wise. I wish I had scheduled that delivery at least a couple days prior, so I wasn't stressed out about it. But everything else went without a hitch. I had a fabulous time, and I suggest if you make your checklist, manage your time in getting that checklist done, you can then sit back, relax, and enjoy your vacation. Madam Toastmaster.